You know, when you've been flipping guitars as long as I have and just buying and selling, you see a lot of bullshit. And you see a lot of crazy people. So, here's some advice for those of you that are looking to flip guitars or that are having a hard time, finding the deals to flip guitars. So, increasingly, more and more over the last decade or so, guitar prices have been plummeting. Uh, Manufacturers have been producing guitars for much cheaper than they were in the early 2000s, in the 90s, and in the 80s when I first started. Um, so I had my first experiences in like the late 90s with flipping guitars. I would find some stuff that are deals here and there, sometimes online on forums, and I would sell them on eBay. There were much fewer venues for which to sell the gear back then. Um, Nowadays, you have Reverb and you have eBay and you have even Amazon to a certain extent and other places, and you would think that places like Craigslist and other local places would be the places that you can find a real deal. But more and more so, those places are becoming places where idiots try to get more money for the guitar than they're worth. And it's true that you can find some stuff there that's been sitting there for a while, and you can make the offers, and sometimes it goes through, sometimes it doesn't. The latest was the Mexican Strat that I made a video on, that I paid about $275. I think it may even been 250. I don't remember the exact amount, even though it was just last week. But I've been so busy with stuff and expecting a new kid coming in the next 2 weeks, so I've been really busy. I made that guitar in those videos in the middle of the night when everyone at home was sleeping. Um, that guitar was basically in brand new condition. It was beautiful. The seller was asking $400 for it. Initially, they asked $600. About a week or two later, they saw there was zero interest from everyone, and they put it down. Now, some of the things you'll see is that these idiots online will come and tell you that, well, you're saving the tax if you buy it from me, given that this is a 10-year-old guitar that costs $600 now. 10 years ago, it didn't cost $600. I think they were $499. So they're asking $100 over the MSRP for the guitar, that's fucking ridiculous if you ask me. And you see more and more people like this. There are good deals though. You just have to be vigilant. The way it works with Craigslist and all of these places, in a big city, it's actually harder to find good deals than it does in rural places where there isn't as much interest. And if someone puts something up, they won't be able to sell it no matter what, if they're not asking a reasonable price. Um, in places like New York, where I live, the key is really going through them, and at least once a day, what I do is, with I bookmark certain queries. So I have Fender guitar, Squire guitar, things like that. And I bookmark those. I go through those bookmarks once a day and I see what's up. And this way I familiarize myself with what's on there and what's not. And I don't just go like once a month and say I'm going to find something to flip over here. It doesn't work that way. You have to be constantly vigilant, and you also have to really put work into the guitars a lot of times to flip. So the Strat that I bought, the Mexican one, for 275, it was a good deal, but the guitar was in terrible shape from the setup perspective. The paint was great, and there was no dings, scratches, nothing. It looked brand new, but the guitar was filthy, very dusty. The action was, I think, 10/64, which is fucking ridiculous. Um, it just needed a lot of love to be put in before I could get it into the condition that I can sell it for 350 or $400, in the condition where it's basically new old stock NOS, or a mint condition type of guitar. And even then, to get 350 or 400, I'm going to have to sit around and wait a couple of months, and I may even need to lower the price a little bit. And depending on the venue that I sell it in, I choose Reverb because the fees are low. it's very difficult to find cheap guitars to flip that you can make a profit on and still be able to pay the fees on Amazon and eBay. Those days are long gone. With eBay, you're looking at nearly 15%, which is a lot of times that's your entire profit margin on the deal. It's very hard to buy something on Craigslist, get a deal on Craigslist, and then turn around and flip it and sell it on Craigslist. That's almost impossible, because if no one was interested in that guitar when the price was $275, nobody else is going to be interested in that guitar when the price is $350. So there's also a lot of fakes, a lot of bullshit. A lot of times when you see a deal, it's not real. It's just some kind of scam or something like that. But what you usually find is the more expensive guitars are much harder to get the good deal on. Those are the ones where you see people asking $1,200 for an American Standard Stratocaster, which is crazy for a used guitar. I mean, you have to take the 20% rule and apply it. As soon as this guitar is taken out of the store when it's brand new, you immediately should assume that you lose about 20 to 25% of the value. And that's if you keep everything in brand new condition. You don't peel the plastics off, and you don't open any of the case candy or anything like that. You keep it in completely mint, completely perfect, completely brand new condition. If you do that, you can sell it and with a minimal loss. But people think that if they put a higher asking price, they'll be able to get better offers for the guitar. Like if you put $1,300 for an American Strat, that people are going to come and offer you 12 and 11, and that's nothing could be further from the truth. You're going to get the same offers whether that guitar is listed for $900 or $1,200. You're going to get about $700 for an American Strat, more or less. And a lot of people are very unhappy with that. They think that, you know, the guitar is in brand new condition. Why doesn't someone want to buy it from me for, you know, just a little bit less than what I paid, when they're going to go, people are going to the store and paying full price? Well, there's reasons for that. In the store, you can return the item. You can exchange the item. There's more trust when it comes to a store. It's not as shady. There's a lot of reasons why someone would pay the premium to buy brand new in the store. And not, you know, to mention that people buying at Guitar Center are constantly getting that 15% off coupon on those guitars. And a lot of people hold off on buying the guitar until they can apply that 15% coupon that, you know, 3 or 4 times a year they send you in the mail on any one item. So you can go in and buy as expensive of a guitar as you want and get the 15% off coupon. Given you have to save, you have to pay sales taxes and things like that, but it's not as prominent as the sales that go on at $12.99 or for those American Strats. There's not many people buying those guitars for $12.99 plus tax. If they do, they stand to take a big loss if they don't like them, but the people that do buy them can return them easily. And when I bought American Strats, I did buy them at Guitar Center. The reason I did that is because, number one, I was getting a deal that I thought was fair enough for a new guitar, that the loss would be minimal. If I decided to get rid of it, there would still be you know, substantial loss, but not anything like 30 or 40%. I may have lost 20% on that, but I got the 15% coupon, so things were different. And when it comes to Fender guitars especially, I mean, Fender guitars are the ones, Fender and Gibson have the biggest market. I focus usually on Fenders and, you know, less known brands sometimes, but I look for, you know, the people that just write electric guitar or the people that just write acoustic guitar. You'll find that there are people online. This girl who I bought this Mexican Strat from, I think that was her boyfriend's Strat, and she might have been through a breakup with him and just he left that there, and she decided, fuck it, I'm gonna sell it. And so she took the, you know, bargain down price from me. From $400, I spoke to her down to $350. And when I got there, I told her, listen, sweetheart, the guitar is in really bad shape and it needs a lot of work. I'm right here. I have about $280 or $275 in cash. I can give you that for the guitar and walk out and you can have the cash in your hand right now. And she said, fuck it, I'll do it. And that's a lot of times you go and check out the guitar and then you decide it's not really what I want. So flipping guitars is a very difficult business to be in. The whole idea that there's a bunch of people sitting on expensive guitars that don't know what they are, and just think a guitar is worth $100 and are going to put a $2,000 guitar for $200 online on Craigslist just to get rid of it is completely asinine. That may have been true 20 years ago, but now it's not, because anyone that has a guitar could see that serial number or that model number. They go online, they see how much it's going for, and they look, if someone sees a Fender American Standard Stratocaster that their boyfriend left in their house and they went through a breakup and they start looking through it, they Google American Standard Stratocaster, they see $12.99, they say, well, I should list it for $1,200. I shouldn't take less than that. It's in brand new condition, and it's here it clearly says it's selling for $12.99. And that's the price that they sell for in the store. So somebody's bound to give me, close to that. Not understanding that guitars have mileage. The more you play the guitar, the less it becomes worth. There's so many different aspects, and it's so difficult these days. The internet has really marginalized flipping and created like a level playing field where everybody gets a lower price for the used guitar. There's nobody who knows what they're doing that could get a better price, and that's just because there's so much shit going on right now. There are tons of baby boomers that are unloading vintage guitars for cheap. And the market has just went down a lot for those vintage guitars. So really, there's no money to be made there, because you stand to take a loss more times than you stand to gain. And what's really puzzling about the whole situation is that, the guitars that you stand to make the largest margin on in terms of percentage are the cheap guitars, the Squire that you find for $50 that you could flip for $100. That's basically, those are the deals that are out there for people looking to flip guitars. Once in a while you find a good deal that you could make, $100 or $200 off. But if you think about all the time you're investing in it, it doesn't pay. There's a lot better things you could do with your time and your money. Not to mention that sometimes when you buy those guitars, you will sit on them for months and sometimes years until they could sell. And a lot of times you'll have to cut the price even lower than you paid for it. You thought it was a good deal to buy the Mexican Strat for $275, but once you put it up, nobody wants it. So you'll have to cut the price down back to what you paid for it, sometimes even lower, just to get to pique some interest and to finally just offload that shit and get it out of your house and get it to somebody. So those are some things for you to consider when it comes to flipping guitars. I know that it's very difficult, and it's getting more and more difficult. I only expect that to become more prominent because of things like reverb and places like that. The playing field is even. There's a lot of competition. The one thing that the website Reverb has done is really put pressure on eBay, because eBay for musical instruments is a ripoff. The prices people ask are crazy. The fees that they take are absolutely ridiculous. There's nobody that can make a profit in it, and the only people that you get selling on eBay these days are the people that bought the guitar that have nowhere else to sell it, not having luck on Craigslist or any type of local place, or that don't know any type of local place to sell. So their first instinct is to sell on eBay. And because the fees are so high, they ask a high price, thinking that if the Squire Bullet, for example, sells for $149 and brand new, they're going to put it up for $140, because after shipping and fees, they're only making $80 on it. That's all they're getting to their pocket. So it's very difficult. It's very, very difficult these days. Shipping carriers, their prices are through the roof, and they're doing a terrible job with delivery. They damage a lot of guitars. There's a lot of claims that need to be made. A lot of people are put off. Me, myself personally, also put off on buying guitars online. It's just too much work and too much headache. And there's just too much that has to go into it. The one thing you can do is look for the deals that are bundled with a hard case or something like that. If you find a Mexican Strat, for example, for 350 with the hard case, and it's in excellent condition, and you could bargain it down to about 300, 275, that's something you probably can flip. So I look for those deals, things that come with the hard shell case, because the hard shell case itself is worth about 50 bucks usually. So, and mind you that if you're doing this simply to make a profit, it won't work for you. The only time it's going to work for you is if, you know, it's a labor of love, that you like working on the guitars. You like fixing up shitty guitars, making them play good, and then turning them over for a profit. Because time is money, and to make $50, if you're going to put 3 or 4 hours into working on that guitar, you're already at a loss because your time is money as well. So take all those things into consideration when you're preparing to get into the market to flip guitars. I know some people online like Scott Grove make it look real easy, like these deals are so easy to find and things like that, but that's bullshit for the most part. He's just trying to pull your chain. Like he says he only buys guitars that he can flip for double the price. Well, where the fuck is he selling those guitars to make double the price that he's paying for them? Yes, eBay auctions, sometimes you get a good deal on an auction, but it's few and far in between. Not enough to have 200, 300 guitars and constantly be moving the type of volume that he's moving. And you know, if he's telling the truth about the prices that he's getting, you know, then he knows how to do this a lot better than I do, and all the more power to him. But I just haven't had, you know, that in my experience in the last almost 20 years of buying and selling hundreds and hundreds of guitars. So take all that into consideration, flip whatever you can if you find a good deal, but just know that flipping guitars is not something you can do to consistently make money. It's something that once in a while you're going to find a good deal and you'll be able to make a few bucks off it. And sometimes you'll want to keep that guitar, so keep in mind that sometimes you may be stuck keeping that guitar. So that's all there is to this. And I just want to wish everybody who's doing this, you know, good luck. And hopefully, if you have a great story about a guitar that you flip, post it in the comments. I'd love to read it. That places like Craigslist and other local places would be the places that you can find a real deal. But more and more so, those places are becoming places where idiots try to get more money for the guitar than they're worth. And it's true that you can find some stuff there. You know, when you've been flipping guitars as long as I have and just buying and selling, you see a lot of bullshit, and you see a lot of crazy people. So here's some advice for those of you that are looking to flip guitars or that are having a hard time, you know, finding the deals to flip guitars. So I had my first experiences in like the late 90s with flipping guitars. I would find some stuff that are deals here and there, sometimes online on forums, and I would sell them on eBay. There were much fewer venues for which to sell the gear back then. Nowadays you have Reverb and you have eBay and you have even Amazon to a certain extent and other places, and you would think so increasingly more and more over the last decade or so, guitar prices have been plummeting. Manufacturers have been producing guitars for much cheaper than they were in the early 2000s, in the 90s, and in the 80s when I first started. That's been sitting there for a while, and you can make the offers, and sometimes it goes through, sometimes it doesn't. The latest was the Mexican Strat that I made a video on, that I paid about $275, I think. It may even been $250. I don't remember the exact amount, even though it was just last week, but I've been so busy with stuff and expecting a new kid coming in the next 2 weeks, so I've been really busy.